Welcome back to the Seven Figure Flipping podcast. I have an awesome guest today, my friend Tom Bell. He is a part of our Seven Figure Runway community, and he's getting back. He got back into flipping and doing real estate, and I'm super pumped to hear his story. He's got a lot to share today. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you, man. So I really just like to hear, maybe three minutes or so of like, where did all this start and how did you get to flipping houses today?
Sure. Well, back in, I think it was 2017, my wife and I started buying rentals here in Saginaw, and we had 4. And we bought them. They were rundown houses. We fixed them up and started renting them out. And then we were doing that for a while. And then COVID hit and a lot of the renters stopped paying rent for us. So that kind of took a turn for the worse. And we got kind of sick of the non-payments. And we sold all of our rentals and got out of real estate for a while. And I regret that now. I wish we would have just stuck it out and got some help and figured out how to get them to pay. But we didn't. So here we are a couple of years after COVID was over. I wanted to get back into real estate. My wife said, that's fine, but we don't want to do rentals. We're burnt out from rentals for a while. I'd like to do rentals eventually, but it probably will be a different approach when we get back into rentals. So we decided to start flipping. I just want into real estate. I've always liked it and thought it'd be a great opportunity. So we decided to start flipping, and we just recently finished our first flip since we've been in the real estate flipping business, and since I started with a 7-figure community.
Yeah. Okay, Tom. I mean, I feel like you told the really short version, which is totally cool.
Sure.
I definitely want to talk about your experience on that flip. But what really fascinates me is you're like, at some point in your life, you're like, I need to buy some rentals. I need some real estate. That's like that's something I feel like is useful. And in 2017, you did that. And then COVID happens and you have this like bad experience where it was heavy. You're like, gosh, this thing's like losing me money right now in the short term. We don't like this. It doesn't feel good. Let's just get rid of this thing. But then you decided to come back, which I think a lot of people quit there. They're like, oh, I had a rental once and it was a terrible experience. So rentals are bad. I'm never touching real estate again. Why did you decide to come back? And did you feel like was your wife on board with eventually getting back in? Like, how did that go?
Well, she was on board with getting back in as far as the flipping. I'm not sure she's quite on board with the rentals again yet, but I want to get there. As we approach retirement age, I don't want to rely on just the 401k or the IRA. I would like multiple streams of income, as a little more financial security. I want rental income. I want we loan money from our IRA, so we can do that as part of our income. I just feel as if there are more opportunities than letting somebody else manage my cash flow through a 401k, the stock market or whatever. I just am not comfortable with that option.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And what's really cool, what's interesting, Tom, I think, at least from my perspective, you see a lot of young folks like young, even younger than me. I'm 39. You see like 20 something year olds, and they're like, they smartly have this vision, like they're going to go, maybe they're hustling to a wholesale deal or, figuring it out, but they jump into real estate because they see it as an opportunity. They don't really know, but they're figuring it out. And then you have I would consider my middle age, but it's like midlife crisis moment. Don't want to work for the man, must leave W-2. I'm still like pretty far away from, what we'd consider retirement age. So you see a lot of people are like, W-2 is terrible. Like, I need to find a way to make money somewhere else, and they come into real estate. You're actually closer to retirement age, and you're like, you know what? I'll be retired, but I'll still work on real estate a little bit, keep a little active income coming, keep building up my IRA. I think that's a totally different worldview, I think, than a younger, somebody just starting in their 20s, how you look at that. And I think it's really cool that, hey, you could flip a house a quarter for quite some time. And we'll talk about your experience on your flip.
Okay.
You can lend some money out of your IRA from your retirement accounts, and there's multiple ways to make money. So it's really smart how you're thinking about it with where you're at and thinking about retirement being closer there. And you can continue to do active income activities flipping for a long time.
Sure.
But you can't be the one in the house doing the work. So let's talk about your flip. So you come in, you're like, I bought rentals, I kind of understand the game, get the playbook over here, and you get into your first flip. How'd you find it? How'd you fund it? What was the operational experience like, and what were your lessons learned? We'll just tackle each one of those at a time. So how'd you find the property?
Well, I found it through the MLS, and I made a couple mistakes with that. So we can go to mistakes now, or you want to stay well the mistakes?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll tackle the mistakes along the way. So you found on the MLS. What were the mistakes?
First mistake is, purchase price. I bought it too high. I think we could have went lower with the purchase price. I feel like I let the realtor dictate what my asking price was rather than me going and telling them what I wanted for my offer. I suggested, and they said, well, let's go in strong because there's multiple bids, and maybe I would have been better off not getting it, or maybe I would have got it at a lower bid. I don't know, but I feel like maybe I should have stuck with a lower offer and been more comfortable.
Now, when I presume at this time, did you feel fairly comfortable with running your numbers for a flip? Like, I got to buy it here. It's going to cost me about this much for the rehab, getting all those other hidden costs like closing and holding and all that stuff. Did you feel comfortable kind of with that at that time?
Well, at that time I thought I did, but looking back, no, I wasn't even close really. And, that was another thing, I could have reached out for some help from some of the coaches or just on the Facebook group or something, but, I thought I was comfortable, but I was off. And what I think I did is, I've heard you say it, and I think I've maybe even heard Bill say it, is you hear time and time again, people just want to get into that first deal, get that first flip out of the way, and you kind of don't just go in just to get your first flip. Just
be sound in your numbers. Have clarity on what, I think the first part is having clarity on what profit you're after, what profit margin, like having a minimum viable profit that you'll make. And this is going to be dependent on, for most people, on their market and their price point. And you're in Saginaw, Michigan, you've got really great price points. So, a minimum profit of $30,000 on a flip is great, or even $25,000 when you're in that $100,000 to $200,000 price range on the exit. That's risk adjusted 25, 30K on that price point. So, but being really strong and confident in like, hey, it's not worth my time if I'm not making this much minimum, right?
Right.
So important lesson for all. And then once you have clarity on that and calculating the numbers, doing the deal analysis, most of it's honestly in a spreadsheet. You only really got to get two numbers right, which is what's it going to sell for after I fix it up, the ARV, and what's the rehab going to cost me, which, the rehab one is what we get some good experience in learning what the projected and real costs are. So, okay, so buying it on the MLS, you think you bought it a little too high. Let's just do the big reveal now. Did you make money on the flip?
I made money on the flip.
Okay.
Yes.
So you didn't lose money, which is a great first experience, like really great first experience. You made money. You got paid to get the education.
Yes.
So that's good. Okay. So you bought it on the MLS. So that's how you found it. How did you fund it? Was it private, hard money, personal cash?
We used hard money. Yep.
Okay, great. You used hard money. And then let's talk about the operation. So you bought the house. How much did you think you would spend on the rehab?
Well, I was guessing about 24,000 because it was a light rehab. Really, it wasn't too bad, and we weren't too far off on the budget. We didn't go too far over. I think we spent just over 27,000, maybe close to 28, maybe. So it wasn't too bad.
Okay. That's really good. That's pretty close. And then, how long did you think it would take?
A month to 6 weeks or so. It was going to be pretty easy. So
I think this is where the rehab part was a little broken, and we'll talk about why. So you thought, 4 to 6 weeks, light flip, in and out of this thing, easy day.
Yep.
And how long did it actually take?
5 months. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about why. And so you're actually you have skills, like you have construction skills yourself, like you know how to do
I did
a lot of
previous
things.
Rentals. I did all those. We fixed those up ourselves, and every piece of them we fixed, right?
Yeah, and I don't have any skills, Tom. Like my construction skills are limited, which in my own house, it's not favorable. My wife's has more man skills than I do, and just to get a handyman to help because I don't have any of those skills. But in business, it's really favorable because I can't go in and do the work on my flips. So you did the work. You did a lot of the work on your flips, which saved you, which is probably why you were profitable. But talk about that part of the experience and what you think you do going forward.
What I do going forward is find some contractors to do a lot of the work. Save me a lot of. I think the money I would have spent on contractors would have more than made up for the money that I had to spend paying the hard money lenders. Does that make sense?
Time, the cost, because the money is cost. And if that money, say, is at 12%, 10% in 6 weeks, that's like not a lot of interest paid.
Right.
But in 5 months, that's a meaningful amount of money. So paying for that labor could have took that 5 months down to 4 to 8 weeks.
Right.
And you could have genuinely been in and out of that thing. What a great lesson, though. It's like, especially I see this a lot. The guys who like have the skill sets, I'll just do it. A couple things. Well, I'm going to do it right, and somebody else won't, which is probably some truth.
It's hard to let go. It is.
It's hard to let go. It's hard to let go because you want it. You want a good quality thing. And they're like, well, I'll just save that money. And that's, I think, where you learn, like, I actually didn't save that money. It cost me the same, if not more. Plus, I did all the work. So I wouldn't have done it faster, not have done the labor, the physical labor. And then also I'd probably be working on my next one already.
Right.
So the opportunity cost where you were like not on to your next deal yet because you were, you spent, I guess, three and a half extra months getting that one over the finish line. So what's your plan now?
Well, I still don't have my second deal lined up yet. We're still looking, but the plan would be to buy it at a much better price, obviously, and hire all of the work out. When I'm working on this flip, I did not do any marketing, any reaching out to anybody, any networking, nothing. It was go to the flip in the evenings and the weekends, 12 hours a day on the weekends, anywhere from 2 to 5 hours a night during the week. And, you're eating dinner at 9, 10 o'clock at night and get up and start all over again the next day because you got to go to your job first and then to the flip second. And then, so the next one, yeah, definitely hire contractors. So I have time to keep networking, keep posting for more deals and finding another house, networking and everything, just there is so much I missed out on while I was doing actual work and not finding my next flip. So that was disappointing to me.
Yeah, it's the opportunity cost. It's the time and the opportunity cost. And when you do the math, and you obviously learn this like in real time, like you can see the physical numbers, like, gosh, like I would have been done 3 months earlier. I would have had all this time to be doing the black box method and right. Getting more relationships with wholesalers and agents to send me more deals. Cause I got to see, it's like, you don't finish a flip, not think about the next deal. And then all of a sudden you're done and the next deal lands in your lap. That's a part of the operation in and of itself, is like curating relationships there with the investors, the wholesalers, the agents, and the purpose is to get as many properties into you as possible so that you can do the evaluation, now run the numbers, including the cost of your contractors and the holding cost and everything else, and then make an appropriate offer so that you make, the amount of profit you're looking for, whether it's 20 or 30 grand to flip at your price point or 40 or 50. Maybe you only want to hit the bigger ones and do 4 a year. Cause I think what's cool is like I go back to thinking about, you're like, I'm about to be retired basically. And I like doing real estate. So I can do you don't have to do 100 flips like some of these crazies in our community.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you're just like, I just enjoy it. I'll do, a flip a month, a flip a quarter. And as long as you do it right.
Retired sitting on the couch in my retirement doing nothing. I don't want to. I want to keep busy, I just want to be busy and yeah, but I want time also to go see my kids. All my kids live out of state and it's nice to be able to travel. And so there's a fine line there somewhere, but it's definitely not just sitting around waiting for something else to happen. I want to do something. I want to keep busy, keep the mind active,
Yeah. It's really cool. And you will, the next evolution of learning is getting the right contractors in place and building accountability mechanisms to make sure they are on time, on budget, and quality is where you would expect it to be. And the truth of it is you'll get to the point where you can be traveling and have a flip happening while you're seeing your kids. Like that's, a lot of people who have the business systematized in our community are traveling. Like some of them don't even live in their own markets. Like we virtually flip. We're not there. I can't touch it. So you'll be there shortly. I'm excited. So what would you say your most important next steps are for getting this next deal, for putting getting the right people that you need to get? What are you working on and what are those most important next steps?
Just networking and reaching out and finding more people to either private money. That's a difficult one for me. I know a lot of people struggle with that and I am very uncomfortable. I've listened to Bill talk, I don't know how many times about it, and I still struggle. But yeah, I want to find private money lenders more than what we have lined up right now, and more networking for deals. It's a matter of reaching out. And I had a coaching session last night where, they said we've got to sometimes we do the stuff. How does it go? Do the things that other people aren't comfortable doing. We just have to go the extra mile. So we are reaching out and making more phone calls and reaching out to more people instead of just sitting back waiting for a deal to come to you. Because here I post and use the black box method is what I do mostly. I could do that more consistently. But here in mid-Michigan, I think I only have 3 groups that focus in mid-Michigan that I'm in as far as finding deals. And that's not a lot. So I have some other statewide groups that I'm in, and I get lots of deals sent to me from Southeast Michigan, but I'm not interested in that. You know, you have your buy box defined, but a lot of the wholesalers, they don't care necessarily about following that exactly. So
they're just gonna send you everything. So it sounds to me like what I'm hearing is continue to cultivate private and attract private money relationships. Right. You know, people who see you, they know you, they trust you, they know you have skills. You've profitably flipped a property at this point, and they have some cash, but they don't want to do the work, but they want to earn some money in real estate with you, so they get an opportunity to invest with you in your company and your assets. And then the second thing is focusing on never turning off the front end consistently posting. I'm a buyer. I'm looking for deals, getting people to send you as many deals as possible, so that, and you're going to get junk. It's a volume game. I got to see a lot of houses just to find the few that are in my area, in my buy box. And I have to make offers on those houses if they're houses I want to flip, regardless of the numbers. So that's important. The third thing that you didn't say that I would encourage you to do, conversations you should have, is build a list of contractors for the next deal. Start building that list now, so that, because you know how this goes. All of a sudden you got a deal next week. You were thinking, oh, it's not coming. And then it's here. And now you're scrambling to find the contractors that you're going to put in play. You don't have to have everything worked out with them, but you should have a list of folks that you're going to want to start vetting and getting bids and stuff like that from. So definitely make sure you start, putting some of those guys and contacts on a spreadsheet somewhere or on a list somewhere, so you can have those ready to go.
Yeah, that's great advice. I need to do that too. You're right.
Yeah,
I do not want to do the work again.
Yes, and I don't want you to do. I didn't want you to do the work for the first time, Tom. But
what I found is you, Tyler, maybe Jonathan. Everybody says get the contractors in there, and I hear what you're saying. It's just hard to let go, You think, I can do this. I got this little patch of drywall. It's not real little, but so I get a quote, and somebody tells me it's over $1,000. It was like $1,200 to do this section in the kitchen. I can do that a lot cheaper than that. Just a couple pieces of drywall, some mud, and here it is 3 weeks later. I'm finally sanding down to get it just about perfect, where they said they could have did it in 4 days. Like, oh, man, that was a lot harder than I expected. I hate drywall. And then we have other things that we wanted to travel to see our kids. We had my grandson's first birthday, so we took time out to go see him for his birthday. Yep. We had the holidays we traveled for. We went to Tennessee. I had the flu. That took me out for just over a week. It was rough. I had shingles, all the stuff that delayed me from working on the house, where if I had a contractor in there, they wouldn't have those delays like I did.
The other thing to think about too, Tom, and the reason why talking to those contractors early is important, is to start to understand what their pricing is. Okay. And the reason their pricing is important is because it's just like the cost of money, right? Like you borrow money, it's 10%, it's 8%, it's 12%, it's 15%. As long as you're planning for it and you're underwriting it in your deal, meaning like, right, the cost of this money is included in my profit analysis. It's the same thing with contractors. Hey, I could do this myself for 20 grand, but it's going to cost me 35 with contractors. I don't care. That just means when I go to make my offer, I go, it's going to cost me 35 grand because I'm not doing it. Plus the money's going to cost me this, plus the closing cost, plus the holding cost for, electricity and utilities. And I put all that in there. And then I go, okay, I want to make 30 grand. Boom. Now here's what I can pay. This is what I can pay. It just is, to do it the way that I want to do it too. Cause like your goals, Tom, are super clear. Like, you're at a point where you want to spend time with your family. You want to be able to do some travel but you still want to have something to do and some income streams. Like, cool. If that's what you want, that's what you have to do. Use those resources, just price them in on the buy. You win at the buy.
Yes, I agree. Very much so.
So, and you know what? Here's kind of here's the evolution too, because the realtors, man, they're hard. They don't really understand the underwriting. They don't understand the investor game. Like, it's evident to me when your agent's like, well, if we want to be competitive, it's like, I don't want to be competitive. I want to be profitable.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to be competitive. I'm not competing against retail buyers. I am making offers based on my profit analysis.
Yeah.
So don't allow them to influence you, and expect that you're going to get a lot of rejection because of where you're buying, the price point in which you can buy that fits your model, that actually gets you to what you're looking to do. I need to be able to afford to pay the of course I want to find good contractors at good pricing, and I want to be competitive in my offers, but I kind of don't care what they cost, because at some point, you're going to have cheap, middle, and high. Cheap's usually never the best. So somewhere in between middle and high contractor crews is going to be where you land. And that's just the cost of doing business. Right. And those folks got their own business and they got to eat too. So it's like, I get it. As long as they're quality people, they're not nickel and diming me, they're doing business the right way, the quality of their work's good. All right. That's the cost to get that. So I'm putting that on the front end on the offer so that I can afford to do it. So that when I want to come down to Tennessee and hang out with the crew, my contractors are still working on my deal. I'm not losing time, which means I'm losing money. But that stuff. I'm just glad that I think this time, as you go on to see more deals and start to get offers out, and you price that stuff in, it'll be easier because you're pricing it in. Yeah. And you won't feel so constrained because you didn't really price it in the first time, but you really didn't know how much it was going to cost you in terms of time.
Right. I had no idea. I was way off. Because when you buy the rentals, there's not the time constriction that you're thinking for, because I'm just going to flip it. And when I get I'll just have a renter in there eventually. And I really don't care if it takes me a month or 3 months. That income will come and it's just whatever. And I'm just, but the flip, that's a different ball game. It's the time I want that done as fast as I can. That's right.
And you don't want to be under the pressure to do it all fast. Like, you want somebody else to be under that pressure.
Yeah.
And you plan for 4 to 6 weeks. They'll probably take 8, but it's better than 5 months.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all fun and games for a while there when we started doing all the work ourselves. Yeah, this demo is great. Yeah, look at us go. And then the last couple of weeks, Karen and I were a little bit on edge. So
this is terrible. Well, hey, we all learn. I'm a Marine, so I don't just learn hard lessons. I usually have to learn them twice, and then they sink in. So. I promise you the second one will be better because you felt the pain of one way. So awesome, Tom. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing specifically about that deal, because I think it's cool to go through that first deal experience. Because I love our community.
Yeah.
Along that way, like when you're feeling some pain, you're like figuring stuff out, what were some of the ways you leaned on maybe the peers, like your small group accountability or the community and the coaches? Like, how did you leverage that to get you through any parts of that project?
Yeah, you use a small group, the Facebook group, the coaches all, and you can use them each for different ways. Like the small group, that accountability each week, whether it's just moving forward with your project or leaning on them for our advice on how to get through this next step, because you're meeting with them weekly. So it's good for that face-to-face time that they can give you good advice. Or the Facebook group, there are so many people in there with more experience than you that you just post your question in there, or even your feelings, and you get encouragement back.
We need that.
That encouragement to keep going and push through, and you're doing a good job type of feedback. It's great to see, and it makes you feel good. It makes you know that you're doing it right. You know, you got a good group of people behind you, and there's it's just a great feeling for that whole group. I love the Facebook group. And then the coaches, they are incredible. I don't know how many I've talked to. I've talked to several, 5, 6, maybe, I don't know, different coaches. And every one of them, every time, it's just so much information they give you. And it's the hard part for me. I'm finding I'm not as coachable as I should be. So they tell me one thing and I say, yep. And then they go off and I don't always do what they tell me.
That's all right.
I know I have to. And I think part of that is just me stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit more.
And you have a lot. And just since, just since you became a part of the community and stuff, like, you started, bringing on private investors, and you got here and you were like, I'm going to flip a house, and you flipped a house, and, you did all the things to, you said, I want to do this. And then you went out and did it, whether or not you felt like it or not yet, you did it. And, I commend you for that. I remember, in 2020, when I joined the community, we got all these coaches, and the coaches are not like coaches. They're business owners who have been down this road that basically have said, they're in our like higher level mastermind. They're like, I want to like give back. So they come into Runway and they coach for a year, meaning, we can sign up and get on a call with them and, get some guidance and do some work with them. So, they're not like, it's not like Tony Robbins coming in pumping us up. These are real operators, which I think is super cool. And they've made all of the mistakes. But like when I joined, there's all these different coaches. I did calls with a few, but then I just found myself going back to the same coaches every time. And for me, that was Steve and Casey Tackett. And like they got tired of me, no doubt about it. I was signing up for them. They couldn't even get an open spot because I'd be taking them all up because I was just getting such good feedback. I was coachable, Tom. I was coachable, maybe to a fault, but are there any like any of the coaches that you feel like you go back to more often?
Yeah. Two of them that I go back to more often than, and I don't know, I think I could have probably relied on any one of them that I've talked to, but for some reason I just had a little bit more of a connection with either Tyler or Jonathan. And they both have such different approaches that you get really valuable information, and different options depending on who you talk to. They've both taken different paths. So you learn so much from either one of them. And then I've talked to several others, before that. And in the meantime, I just kind of like the different opinions and the different options. Yeah. But then I kind of think maybe I should stick with one and just follow that one path and one level. And maybe I'd be a little more coachable instead of going different directions.
Yeah. And I think it's cool too, because we've got, in our community writ large, we've got some interesting business owners. We've got like Andy McFarland and Jonathan, who are risk averse business owners. Their investing model overall is more cash heavy, less debt. And then you've got Tyler and Bill, who they're a little more risk seeking. And they'll be like after more and more growth. And, these will be multiple different business owners doing, lots and lots of deals, lots and lots of revenue, and, but just different approaches. And I think that's important too, because like some of us are more risk seeking and some of us are more risk averse. There's not a wrong way. Like it's your risk appetite to build your portfolio in a certain way, whether you want to own it all cash or, how much leverage you're willing to take on an asset. Sure. Those kind of things those are all very personal decisions. And we have very successful people that do both ways, which I really enjoy that kind of balance of people. It's not just like, hey, this is the way and this is how I did X. So therefore, if you want to do X, you do it this exact way. I can show you, 50 examples of extremely successful real estate investors, like easy, that all have different risk appetites and profiles. I love Jonathan too, because Jonathan is like structured and on point and organized, and like his operation in North Carolina is super dialed in.
Yeah, him and his wife have a good team there. They work together well. I am impressed.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see. And like I'm actually in Altitude. I'm in Jonathan's small group accountability. He's got a big AI implementation focus this quarter, and he's doing some really cool things with how he's using AI to help with his construction, with his scopes of work, with his construction management, like down to like, Chat GPT knowing the dimensions of his project and being able to spit out like materials needed. And it's really, really cool. And he's a hyper efficiency guy. Like, how can I get more efficient? How can I systematize this? So I really enjoy talking to him, and I'm in a small group accountability. So I get to see him every week and learn from him.
That's great. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Tom, thanks for spending time with me today. I genuinely appreciate you doing that. And if people, so you're looking for deals in Michigan, Saginaw, Michigan. So if you're listening to this, you got deals in Saginaw, Michigan. Tom will tell you in a second how you can reach out to him. Send them over to Tom. He's a flipper. He'll buy your deals. If you're got some private money, or you're looking to put some money in with some flippers, like Tom's looking for it, and he's got a quality operation going on. So if people want to reach out to you, Tom, how can they reach out to you?
I'm on Facebook, but there's probably, I don't know how many Tom Bells on Facebook. So, but I'm on Facebook. I email tabell1988. That's TABELL1988 @gmail.com. And I'll give my phone number. I don't care. I mean, some people do, some people don't. But my phone number, you're welcome to text, call, whatever. 989-274-6992. I'd be happy to talk to anybody.
Yeah. Reach out. I mean, Tom, you might have people calling saying, tell me more about how to do flip houses. So cool, Tom. I'm super grateful for you, man. I'm very appreciative of you and we attract a lot of givers in the community, a lot of people who are willing to pick up the phone and help somebody, which I think is part of the power of being in the room here personally with a lot of high core value people. So I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you coming on today and doing the podcast with me.
Well, thanks for having me, Adam. It's been fun. Good seeing you again.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, share it with a friend, or leave us a 5-star review. Help us to reach more investors and make an impact at a greater level. See you on the next one.